Hey everyone, it's Brian Conklin. Thanks for joining us today for FCA's 2-minute drill. Today we're going to talk a little bit about leadership and see Christ's example of leading the disciples. The Great Commission from Matthew 28 says this, "And Jesus came and said to them, All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age." In this passage, Christ didn't just select these men and say, hey, go do this, go carry out gospel ministry. But instead, Jesus invested his life into this small group of men because he knew that if he could pour into them, that his leadership would multiply long after he left this earth. And now, as Jesus is seated at the right hand of the throne of God in heaven, the gospel ministry continues on. The Great Commission continues to go forward. There is such great power into leaders investing into other leaders who will then go and make disciples. It makes me think of a couple leaders here in the city of Omaha. Think of Scott Beckenauer, who is doing an amazing job leading a church in town here that is preaching the message of Jesus Christ and making an impact on so many lives. I think of a great local basketball coach, Willie Williams, who is leading an athletic department, who has impacted countless kids through his leadership of coaching them in the sport of basketball. What do these two men have in common? They've been led well. Just as the disciples were prepared for their mission because Jesus had invested into them, these two men had been prepared by another coach for Christ named Joel Heiser in town. Coach Heiser invested his life into these men so that as he was concentrating on making disciples, one day they would be equipped to be able to go and make disciples. As leaders, let's consider who we follow. It is very important that we submit our lives to Jesus Christ and his rule. And then as leaders, from out of the overflow of following Christ, we need to be conscious about going and making disciples, just as Christ did, just as Coach Joel Heiser did. Thanks for spending time with us today. I hope you're encouraged in this time. Let's seek Christ with our whole heart.